All right, we are doing an emergency deep dive today. We've been digging into a major tech dispute that involves Google, Telus International, and a system called Project Zero Ramp, and what we've uncovered in the source documents is a story of alleged corporate theft with absolutely massive consequences.
That's exactly right. The whole thing really boils down to this incredibly serious allegation of intellectual property appropriation. And this quote, which we pulled directly from the case files, it just gets to the very heart of it. You cannot steal the code, but you cannot steal the vision. So let's start there. What was that original vision?
To really get what's going on here, you have to go back to the very beginning. We have to start with the original architect, a man named Haraldur Gudborn Gunnarsson, and look at what he was building specifically for Google. This wasn't some generic off-the-shelf product. It was a completely bespoke solution.
And that is such a critical point. The documents make it clear this was supposed to be a three-way collaboration. You had Google as the client, Telus as the provider, and Haraldur as the architect. The whole mission was to take Google's own amazing tech, we're talking their Help Guide Beta, their Gemini AI, and weave it right into their GTech support systems. It was about making their human agents as agile and as powerful as the AI they were working with.
Okay, so what problem was this whole thing actually trying to solve? Well, the roadmap you see here called it the cognitive cliff. A big part of that was something they called early life attrition. Basically, you have new support agents, they finish their training, and they get thrown onto live calls, and it's just too much. They're overwhelmed, and they quit. And that churn was costing the company around $1 million a year, per site. A huge financial bleed.
So the answer laid out in that strategic roadmap was this really elegant tri-engine ecosystem. Each engine was designed to attack a different part of that agent experience. First, you had Mirror, which was basically a flight simulator for agents to practice in a totally safe space. Then there was Cortex, an AI co-pilot right there on their screen, feeding them information in real time. And finally, Nexus, which was the critical, warm handoff piece to make sure that when a customer got passed from a bot to a human, zero context was ever lost.
Right, and this is where the whole story just takes a massive left turn. Just months after the architect, Haraldur, was removed from the project, Telus goes and launches this brand new platform called Fuel X. And when you start comparing it to the Zero Ramp roadmap, well, the similarities are impossible to ignore.
This slide, this is the core of the allegation right here in black and white. This isn't just a case of two similar ideas. The documents allege this is a point-for-point structural clone. The flight simulator, Mirror, is just rebranded as Agent Trainer. The co-pilot, Cortex, becomes Agent Assist. And the logic of Nexus, that warm handoff, it becomes the foundation of the Fuel iX core. It's literally the same system with new labels.
But here's the thing, and it's so important. Having the blueprint is not the same thing as knowing how to actually build the car. And sources are claiming that this clone system is now completely stalling out and causing some really significant damage.
And according to the documents, the problem is what they left out. The original Zero Ramp design was absolutely obsessed with safety. It had these things called sovereign protocols, which were non-negotiable rules. The most important one mandated that the Mirror training sandbox had to be a totally isolated digital twin of the real thing. It was a zero-risk environment, so a trainee could never, ever accidentally touch live customer data. The central allegation is that in the new implementation, those critical safety walls were just torn down.
And the data? Well, it shows the devastating impact of getting rid of that vision. We're looking at a reported 299% spike in contract breaches. To be clear, these are catastrophic failures where the system is completely mishandling customer handoffs. The very thing Cortex and Nexus were designed to perfect is now apparently fundamentally broken.
And if you thought that was bad, it gets so much worse. We're talking about a massive data breach in South Korea that exposed the personal information of 680,000 individuals. The dossier draws a direct line from this breach back to Telus failing to implement those mandated AI training safeguards. They built the simulator, sure, but they allegedly ripped out the security protocols with absolutely disastrous results.
So the fallout isn't just operational, it's financial. And this is where the ultimate irony of this whole situation really kicks in, especially when you remember what this project was for in the first place. This was supposed to save money, and now, well, it's costing millions.
It's just unbelievable. Look at this. The project was literally nicknamed the Cost Guillotine in the original roadmap. It was engineered from the ground up to solve that $1 million agent attrition problem we talked about. The entire purpose was to create massive financial savings and boost efficiency.
Instead of a cost guillotine, Telus is now facing a class action lawsuit from the Rosen Law Firm. And the allegation from investors is that the company isn't just failing to make its AI transition profitable, it's actually cannibalizing or eating away at its own core business. So a project that was designed to be a financial win has turned into a huge financial liability.
Okay, so let's just lay out the timeline here. Because the sequence of events that's presented in the dossier, it's just critical to understanding the full picture of what's being alleged.
In this timeline it's stark. In December 2025, you have Haraldur presenting the complete, detailed roadmap to Telus leadership. The very next month, January 13th, he's hit with a hard server block, completely locked out of everything. And then, just 3 months after that, in April, Telus officially launches its FuelX platform.
And that brings us right back to where we started. It brings us back to that central theme. You can copy the schematics, you can rebrand the features, but without the architect's vision and, critically, without their safety protocols, the engine just stalls. This final quote from the dossier says it all, really. Telus kept the map for the Google G-Tech ecosystem, but they fired the only person who knew how to drive the engine.